Hi everyone, I'm your host Maurice, and you are listening to the Lifetimes podcast where we will explore the different stories, life lessons, and experiences of young and old Filipinos navigating through life and adulthood in a foreign society. If you haven't yet, I encourage everyone to give us a follow on Instagram at the Lifetimes Podcast, and also to give us a follow in whichever podcasting platform that you're using. Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. At the time of this recording, actually, I'm still waiting for the review for the podcast to be posted on Apple Podcasts. So once that happens, I will make sure to give everyone an update on Instagram. So if Apple Podcasts is your choice in listening to podcast, or you know someone that uses Apple Podcasts, maybe you can share the episode to them and have a listen to the show, maybe while you're driving, maybe while you're doing some chores at home, or while on your commute to work or commute to school, or just going out to run a couple errands. Give the show a listen. So today, I'm actually very excited to share this episode with everyone because this is the first time that I'll be having a guest on the show. So it was quite an experience recording, because for the past two uploads that I made for the trailer and for episode 1, it was just by myself. But this time around, and what I'm hoping to continue doing for the podcast, is to have various guests come in to share their stories. And this one is very special. It's special because it is personal. Personal in a sense that we are given insight to what our friend, my guest here, had to go through in order to fulfill his obligation in the medical field, and at the same time taking care of his young family. His name is Ren, and he has been working as a care aide in one of the facilities that had a COVID outbreak in the Lower Mainland. Through his story, hopefully we are able to gain an insight of what it was like facing this new threat to society and also a threat to his family. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and here is the story of one of our modern day heroes, Ren. Just a quick introduction, everyone. Our guest for today, he's one of my friends, actually. We've known each other for a few years now. And to be honest with you, he is one of the most fit people that I know. He is a cyclist, a runner, a care aide frontliner, which is what we will talk about today, a husband and a father. It's a lot of things that he's juggling. So he took the time for us for this episode, and we just want to say thank you, Ren, and welcome to the Lifetimes podcast.
To be honest, Mo, it's an honor to be a guest of your show here. I know it's my first time here actually to be with this kind of interview, and I'm hopeful that it's gonna run smooth. You know, yeah. Hopefully.
I hope that it runs smooth as well. Yeah. So, as you may know, Ren is my very first guest for the show, and like I said earlier, I've known Ren for a few years now. I believe it's around 7 years. I think I was still in school.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so too.
We met through a common friend, and that was about 7 years ago. We were still at in college, and I think he was a friend of yours I think he was from the same region as you, from the Philippines. That's why you were able to know each other.
Yes, no, that's true. We came from the same province. And at the time, I was searching for friends, common friends from, like, who can speak the same dialect. So I found him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, to be honest, Ren, like, reflecting back from when I first saw you, you look younger today with your physique, with how with the your fitness level right now. So it's amazing to see that. Yeah, just you look younger today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that time around, I think I was stressed, and then I don't have directions in life that time. Then I met my wife,
Yeah.
And it helped me to focus on some areas in my life that I didn't focus into. That's my health. And I made a little bit of upgrade in my studies as well. So yeah, all things came together now, and I feel better.
Mm. So before we get to the questions, I know you gave us a quick introduction already, but you mind just giving us an introduction about your how you got to where you are now?
So my name is Ren. I'm Filipino. I was born and raised in the Philippines, in one of the provinces in southern part, which is called Bacolod City. I came here when I was 26 years old. So approximately 10 years ago, I worked for my sister as taking care of her niece, taking care of her son and daughter. Now I am a Canadian citizen and I'm working as a carer in one of the facility in North Vancouver. And I'm happy to be where I am right now. And hopefully in the future, I'm planning actually to become a nurse.
Your wife also works in the healthcare field, right? Is that right, Ren?
Yes, my wife is actually a nurse. She just finished her study 2 years ago. Now she has a regular work in North Vancouver as well, close to my workplace.
Healthcare workers, you guys have a very hectic schedule most of the time, and just getting that time off work is really precious to all of you because it's a high stress work environment. On top of that, with the COVID situation happening, so I'm just curious, Ren, how are you able to manage the scheduling with like you said, your wife is also a nurse, you work in the healthcare field, and also you have a young family. How do you manage that?
That's a good question, Mal. I think I just did my best as a husband, as a father, and as a carer, and as a friend. I'm juggling things and I'm trying to be more versatile. So whatever, like right now, I have time for you. I always don't say no. I don't say no to to everything. What I mean is that I always give time to every areas of my life, especially in my family, right? And I found out that I can actually do it because I have this kind of before I always want to be the best in everything that I do. So as a father, I want to be more focused on my daughter, and as a husband, I want to focus on my wife. But then at the same time, I want to have time with my physical activities. I thought at first it is really difficult, but then when I got the grip of it, now I felt like it's actually doable because I'm actually practicing it right now. For example, today is Friday. I have time for you. Then Saturday, I made a schedule already that I can run in the morning. I have free time at the time, and then in the afternoon I can go with my daughter and my wife to the mall and enjoy our day off. I think the most important thing in how to accommodate everything in your life is to do the right planning. That's the start of everything. The right planning and then execute it. That's it. You can do it.
So a lot of time management, it seems like, huh, Ren?
Yes, that's right. It's tough at first, but then when you get used to it, it will be spontaneous. Yeah.
So so I guess that's been the cycle of life, I guess, for every day now because of your work and everything else that you're juggling around. So you
Yes.
mentioned you work at North Van, and could you tell us a little bit about your workplace, where you work?
Yeah. Basically, I work as a carer. I'm doing all the jobs related to taking care of the clients, including her personal hygiene. Um, in addition, I work in a big facility which comprises around 300 beds. So it's a big one. I work as a night carer, so my time starts at 11 p.m. up to 7 a.m. and I need to travel at least half an hour going in there because I live here in Vancouver. Yeah, that's pretty much my cycle every week. I work 4 nights on and 2 nights off. So overall, literally in a week, I work at least 5 nights.
Five nights graveyard. I mean, I've worked.
Yes.
How long have you been working graveyard, Ren? For
Since 2014. So approximately, it's almost 7
almost
years
7
now.
years. Wow, that's
Yes.
crazy. Because I've worked as a cleaner for Metrotown for about 4 months, and that was graveyard. And I also had a warehouse job for like 3 months, and I struggled during those months. But after hearing you
Mhm.
working for 7 years graveyard, that's really really intense, and being able to juggle everything around, that's insane.
Thanks, man.
So
We Filipinos are hard and really, you know, we're Filipinos. We're fighting.
yeah,
We're always
yeah,
fighting.
the
So
fighting
yeah,
spirit.
fighting spirit. That's it.
So a year ago, the COVID lockdowns hit BC, and
Hmm.
being a carried worker and in your facility, how did that take place in
Uh,
your
um,
work?
yeah, I'm thankful that COVID-19, our facility, which is the Lynn Care Center, is free now of COVID-19. Before a year ago, we were the ones who were first struck by the COVID-19. I saw clients in front of me dying, and it's really hard for me. It was intense because I have a daughter in the house when I go home, and she's only like 9 months that time around. And I have all the reason to quit my job, but then I pursue, and it feels like, in my part, I have to do my job as a care aide. And I'm so happy now that our facility is COVID free and everything went well. Everything is working well now. Yeah, if I have only a word that could explain those moments, but for now I can't really describe it because it's very horrible. I saw the suffering and pain from the eyes of my clients. Um, yeah, it's the pandemic is real. It's not just only in the Philippines, as we know, like in the social media, we saw doctors, nurses died from COVID-19. We saw it in the TV, but for me, I actually saw it firsthand. So my emotions are mixed, but then I'm a little bit, yeah, I'm a little bit proud of myself too because I tried my best to help my the elderly people in North Vancouver, the Valley Care Center to be precise.
Yeah, I can't imagine how difficult that that situation would be. From an article I read actually from the Vancouver Sun, they mentioned that uh, your your facility, the Lynn Valley Care Center, was BC's worst outbreak at a care home. So I just can't imagine how the intensity of the environment there. But
Right.
do you mind just walking us through what the typical day is for the typical shift for you
Mhm.
during those times?
Yeah, those time around, more of my coworkers are quitting. So because they have the reason to quit, right? But for me, I'm few other carried. We work at that night. Like those times, we in it's a different feeling. It's kind of like you're getting into a war zone. You feel the fear. You felt the anxiety, and the workload is really hard because you need to do a lot of stuff. It's different from a regular night before the COVID, right? Because when the COVID struck, you know you have to do everything. um, it's like it felt like the hours are longer, and yeah, it's and all the clients are really difficult to manage because they're not in the mood. They're always mad, they're sick, they're not usually in their usual self. So there's a lot of adjustment at the time, and it took me like few weeks to readjust to the situation because I didn't only deal with the workplace itself, but I'm also dealing with the environment when I go home from work, because I hear from friends and relatives, they're giving me warning, why are you working? You're not. It's not work if you work. So I'm not dealing with my workplace alone, but I'm also dealing with my family and peers. So it was really hard. But then I'm so thankful that I survived it. I think it's probably one of the most challenging part of my life as an adult to be able to experience and work as a carer in a facility where COVID-19 is present. You know, it is, sometimes I mean, when I'm telling stories, I'm getting serious because that moment was really like unprecedented. It was not expected by many people. So yeah, even the best countries in the world, US, Canada, some of the countries in Europe, they were not prepared.
So you mentioned there's a lot of work, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do. Has
Mm-hmm.
there been a point during those times where you kind of just stopped yourself and thought, what am I doing here? Is this should I just leave right now and just go back to my daughter who's, like you said, just a few months old? Has there
Yeah,
been an instance like that?
a lot of times now when some nights are really hard, I felt like I want to give up. I have a daughter and my wife just came from maternity leave. So, yeah, I actually have a lot of reasons, but then I don't know. Maybe God used me to help others. You know, that time I'm just being optimistic, and of course I have this kind of feeling inside of me that I'm doing the right thing. I'm practicing prevention. PPE. It's called personal protective equipment. I'm doing that regularly. I'm using gloves, mask, face mask, gowns. So I kind of knew in myself that I'm confident that I can protect myself. So I think that's the other reason why I keep on working because I know I can protect myself. And at that time around, you know me, I'm fit. I do my running, I do my cardio. So it kind of adds up and it feels like I'm on top shape and I can handle it. Sometimes in your life, there's a gut feeling that if there's challenges, obstacles, sometimes you know that you can handle it. I think that's the thing that happened to me. I think I surpassed it because actually more my family also supports me. My wife, she also supported me. So there's three factor overall. First one is like I know that I can handle it. Second one, my wife supported me, and third one, of course, I knew that God is with me. Like I know He's using me to help others too.
Very amazed with the bravery that you were able to express during those times because it's true. The healthcare workers are the frontliners. You are the ones there in front of the threat, and in this case, COVID,
Mhm.
and just trying your best to help out as much people as you can, and at the same time protecting yourselves from also acquiring the virus. You mentioned also your wife got called back from. You said she was on maternity leave. Could you tell
Yeah,
us a bit about that?
yeah. At that time around those COVID months, that was a year ago. Specifically March, April, May, June. Those were intense months. People are dying, sick, throwing up, and everything. You can see all the intensity. And then I told my wife that I told her the experience that I had those moments, and she actually came back to work. She's amazing. I respect her. I salute her for what she did. She actually came back to Lynn Valley Care Center and worked. You know, you can't imagine it because we have a daughter and she's only 9 months in the house, and both of us are working with those people having COVID-19. It's really risky for the family, right? But then we did it. Yeah, it happened. We survived it. It's I can't imagine it that we did a big decision that I'm not the only one working, but she's also working too.
From my understanding, before COVID, your wife was on maternity leave. And
Yes,
during the situation when it's a really dire situation, she came back.
she
And
came back.
that is insane. You said your daughter was nine months old, but she was there willing to help the patients who needed help. And at the same time, be there as the mother of your daughter. That's crazy. I cannot imagine the physical and emotional and mental strength that it takes to just to combat that. And that being said, you said both of you working in the same facility with an outbreak, and I know from the healthcare workers, we hear news that they're overworked, they get double shifts. How are you? How was you and your family able to manage that? Did that ever happen where one of you or even maybe both of you had to work double shifts or extended hours?
Yeah. Good thing, Mao, you know what? Lynn Valley Care Center really didn't give us a double shift because they know we have family. And we refused double shift at that time because we cannot do it because, she has to take care of her daughter in the morning. I have to do my night shift. And then in the morning or in the afternoon, I have to take care of her daughter because she goes to work. So double shift doesn't work on us at that time around. But we actually extended some few hours on those time. But we didn't do double shift. Yeah.
So you would work graveyard, like what was that, 11 o'clock that you mentioned?
Yes.
11 to 7 a.m.
11 to
Is that correct?
7, 11
11 to
p.m. to
7.
7 a.m. And then my wife worked at p.m. shift, which is 3 to 11 p.m.
Okay. So you
Yes.
have that morning where both of you are at home and
Yes.
with the family, you spend some time with the family, and then the wife
Mhm.
goes to work um, from 3 p.m. How was
Yes.
that? If you could walk us through, how was that? Uh, let's say you come home from a shift,
Mhm.
and obviously your daughter is there. She's
Yes.
also one of the ones considered as vulnerable, being only 9 months.
Yeah.
What were some precautions that you had to take before you went home, before you went back
Mhm.
to your daughter after a long
Right.
night's work?
That's a good question, Mo. Yeah. What I did was like a total prevention of the spreading of the sickness. Um, I do the yeah before I arrive, I have to take off my dirty clothes and put it in a separate hamper, laundry hamper. Then I take a bath and I make sure I have a new clothes before I'm going to hold my daughter. And yeah, every day, every morning, I have time for my daughter. So I'm no, actually every morning after I hold my daughter, I go to sleep for just 6 hours, and then when I woke up, my wife is the one who will go to work. So it's like it's a process, but we are doing all the necessary prevention steps, taking care of ourselves by taking a bath before holding our daughter, that's what I said, and changing to a new clothes. Especially those scrub suits that we had in facility. Those suits are really sometimes are really dangerous, or it can because it can be the what call it, it can be a house of microorganisms, right? It sticks to our clothes, so we make sure that it's separated from the regular laundry. That's what we're doing that time. It's separated.
Yeah, that's really intense because I can only imagine after because I have a young dog, I have a puppy, and every
Mm,
time I get off work and I come home and I see my dog just excited to see me, it makes me
uh,
happy. No matter what I went through at work, even though I was stressed out at work, I had some problems at work. Once I see
mm.
my young puppy, my eyes brighten up and I'm happy, and
Yeah.
I and that's just for a puppy, and for your case with a daughter, I can only
Mm.
imagine that that's the one of the things that you look forward to after that long
Yes,
night of long
that's right.
shift
Mhm.
to just to get home, like you said, have your daughter in your arms and just
Mhm.
enjoy those that morning where you can share it with you and your family.
Right.
If you don't mind me asking, Ren, what
Mhm.
role has your daughter played in
That's
you being able
yeah.
and you and your wife being able to push
Mhm.
on and work?
Yeah.
Because from what I'm, like you said earlier, you have friends saying, why are you even working? It's not worth it. You're you have a daughter and you're
Yes.
putting yourself at risk.
Mhm.
And both of you still
Yeah.
pushed on. What role
Yes.
did your daughter play a part in this?
Yeah. I think, care aid, I accept my role as a care aid. it's not just a job, but for me, it's like a vocation. It's like it felt like I was born to help others through this occupation. And then when my daughter came, I have to give my daughter the best future that she can have, right? So I have to work hard. So it's like my daughter is one of the main reason that I'm working. It motivates me to give her a bright future. So, and also it gives me energy, and it's like a remedy to everything. For example, when I came home from a very difficult and hard job. My daughter gives me energy every time I came. When I saw her smiling, it boosted me up. It felt like, I'm doing my job as a father. I'm doing my job as a husband to my wife. So overall, you know, my daughter is one of the main factor that I'm working really hard in my life. Actually, I'm planning to pursue my nursing, and hopefully, I can do it. Um, we'll see. We'll see in the future.
I'm sure you can do it, Ren. I'm sure. Uh, I'm sure you can get that uh, nursing education done,
Hopefully.
and provide the
Yeah.
best future for your daughter.
Thank you,
You
mom.
mentioned as well. There are times that you had long days. You had a hard time at work. Is there a specific experience before COVID or during COVID that you that's been memorable to you? Has there been an incident like that, or a patient rather that's been
Yes.
you had that experience that you just can't forget? It's very memorable.
Yes, Mel. I have this patient. I don't want to expose his name. He's a really nice guy. I was close to him because every night when I go to check him in his room, he's really nice. He's kind. He always greet me with a smile. But it crushes my heart that time because we lost him. He's actually the first casualty of COVID-19 in Lynn Valley Care Center. So I I can't forget him because it feels like he's not just a client, and he's a friend, and I won't forget him. Yeah.
I can't put my mind around that. Like you said, you've been checking on these patients almost on a daily basis on your shift before COVID. Then COVID comes, and like you said in the onset of our talk, you were saying you were seeing it right before their eyes. You were seeing them struggling. You're seeing them going through this situation that you can help them, but then you can't make the pain go away. That's one thing that's it's very it's just the stress with all the work. How are you able to cope with the stress physically, stress emotionally, mentally? How are you able to cope around that?
It's really hard for me emotionally and mentally, but then I kind of get through it. Like I always I always look at the bright side, and I always also give advices to my coworkers that no matter what happened, as long as we're doing our part as a care aide or as a nurses in this facility, we should be proud of ourselves.
I myself, being your friend, I'm very very amazed because I've known you, but this is the first time that we've talked about your experience battling through COVID. You're just one of the few people I know who work in the healthcare field, and being a frontliner at the place where there was an outbreak. So I'm really thankful that you're here, man, because we don't like what we see. What I see, anyways, what I see in the news are just the daily reports from our health officials, but I don't know what exactly the struggles that the healthcare workers actually face themselves on a day-to-day basis. Because for us at home, for the first couple months when the lockdowns happened, I was actually working from home. And, you know, I'm working from home, I'm in the comfort of my house, I'm in my computer doing my work while you, frontline worker out there risking your
Yeah.
life, putting your own personal health on the
Mhm.
line, putting your daughter's health on the line as well, because like we said, she was very young. To you and your wife, you are truly modern day heroes for the work that you've done. So you mentioned the vaccine. As it rolls out and the restrictions start to lift, what are you hopeful for? As we go to that normalcy, if we ever do reach that point, as we transition to that, what are you hopeful for? What are you looking forward
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. Before that, I had actually got my, I get finished my vaccine. That's 2 vaccines already. So I'm proud of myself that I'm going to be protected for quite a while now. Yeah. So we can see now the light in the horizon. We can see hope. And hopefully it will keep going. It's going to be normal and there will be no more virus again. And hopefully in the future, the government and all the public sector will be more prepared. And in addition, more people will be more cooperative, performing all the necessary steps to protect themselves, like the social distancing, and stuff like that. Yeah, they have to wear masks, especially in the public. But we cannot say that it's gonna be 100% back normal soon. Probably it will take more another 2 years to be 100% normal. Overall, it's not just about the government or all the nurses or carers, but it's also about us, like individual. We have to put ourselves in a situation that we can help we can help the people working, like me as a frontliner. We have to do our responsibility. So next time we have to be more careful. I think that's the key. And since now, as you said, the restriction is kind of lifted up. Now we have to enjoy what it is, but we have to do it carefully.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Bonnie Henry said we can have gatherings of 10 outdoors
Mm-hmm.
is
Yes.
allowed now. And you say, what are the ways that we can help the healthcare workers stay
Right.
safe? Because like what we're hearing
Mm.
now, our healthcare workers, they
Mm-hmm.
have families too. They have families
Yes.
that they go home to. They
Right.
have young children
Mm-hmm.
who depend on them. They have babies, like in your case, Ren, babies, and they
Yes.
also have family members who are elderly. So how can
Mm-hmm.
we? What can you say, Ren? How can we
Right.
help the healthcare workers?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mo. Yeah. First of all, um, you have to do the precautions. The first one is you have to protect yourself all the time by doing hand washes. Every time especially you're dealing with foreign stuff, like you play outside with your activities, like stuff like that. Before you go home, you have to wash your hands. Secondly, maybe you could use your mask on. And yeah, thirdly, if you're sick with those flu-like symptoms, you have to stop from working. You have to stop the spreading because you don't know what it is. If it's a virus, if it's just a simple one, or if it's COVID-19 or another strain of COVID, you don't know what will happen. You don't know what it is, right? So you have to be careful not to spread it. I think that's the point here. What we're doing as a frontliner, working hard in the facility or in the hospital, we're working hard because we don't want the virus to be spread. So we have to quarantine the client. So if you're sick, you have to quarantine yourself as well. You don't go to work. You don't meet other people, and stuff like that. It can work, and it will really helps healthcare professionals.
It's been a tough year for all of us, and especially for the frontliners, the healthcare workers. And like you said, we will try to enjoy what we have now, but obviously we don't want it to go back to what it was last year. And it will really take the entire community to come together, to work together, to protect each one, not just ourselves, but protect also the people around us, to keep everyone safe and contain the virus. For our listeners, me and Ren we're on Zoom and we're talking here, and I can see in his eyes how how personal everything that he has shared with us, because that is the heart of a frontliner. That is the heart of our healthcare workers working amidst a pandemic. So we can I can see myself how Ren really takes to heart his work in being able to help other people.
Yes.
Just before we wrap up here, I just I just have a couple, I guess, trivia questions.
Yeah.
Just
Oh.
three fun questions to ask. What's your all-time favorite song? OPM song.
Ah, okay, that's a good question. Yeah, it's not time to loosen up because I'm a little bit serious earlier.
Mhm.
I think my favorite song is an all-time favorite of others as well. It's Harana. Is it? It's I believe it's Parokya ni Edgar and Osupa ba ang
Yeah.
harana
It's
marahil
Sarana.
ikaw ay nagtataka. There you go.
Complete the whole song, right? Yeah, Harana was actually Harana was a cover by Parokya ni Edgar, but it's been very popular. It's one of those songs that they say if you do a cover song really well, and if it's really that good, people will start remembering the cover as the original, as opposed to the other way around. Next question: a movie or a TV show recommendation for our viewers, or just your favorite movie
Yes.
or favorite
Yeah.
TV show.
To all those Filipinos listeners, I think I have to recommend Game of Thrones. It's amazing series. It's filled with action, intense, um, uh, drama. You know, a little bit of comedy sometimes. Yeah, it's kind of mixed up because it's a story a long time ago and filled with fantasy, and they're fighting for the throne. You'll get hooked to it. Trust me, guys. Just
Yeah.
try Game of Thrones. Even one episode. I dare you. Even one episode. You'll be hooked.
Yeah, the first one got me hooked when I first watched it. Then it just no looking back after that. I'm hearing actually that they're gonna have a spin-off or something for Game of Thrones. I know when the last season aired, they
Yes.
were
The last
saying there was a
season was not that
spin-off.
good.
Yeah. And
The
then
last part, yeah. But still, I would say Game of Thrones is like one of the best, like 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, man.
Yeah, fantastic series. So
Yeah.
all right, the podcast called the Lifetimes Podcast. Is
Mhm.
there a time period that you would want to visit? Any time period at all? Could be 100 years ago, the 70s,
Mhm.
80s, or 1500s. Is there a time period that you would want to visit and why?
Wow, that's a really amazing question for me. It's kind of hard. I don't want to go back to where the war is ongoing, like 1940s, Second World War. I don't want to visit it. It's really horrendous times. Probably I would just go back to my own country's history. I want to go back, yeah, when Jose Rizal is on his prime. I want to see him because he's our national hero, and I heard and I read a lot of good things about Jose Rizal. He can spoke different languages. He's really witty. He's like a genius, and he did a lot for our country. I think I want to visit that event on in the past and see firsthand what did Jose Rizal did for our country and makes him the best or our national hero. I think that's the one that I can think for now. Maybe there's a lot more. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also one of the
Yeah.
things that's very interesting. So
Mhm.
hopefully in the
Yes.
podcast, I we could have that as a topic. Just talk about
Mhm.
the history of the Philippines,
Yes.
and let's talk about history. There's this one show that I was watching. It's in Filipino. It's Tagalog, and
Mhm.
he said, um, what did he say? It's somewhere along the lines as pag walang kasaysayan, wala tayong saysay.
Yeah, I think
So
so too.
in English, if we don't have history, we don't have meaning.
Mhm.
So it's
Yes.
very very nice to just look back in history,
Very deep.
and yeah, it's
It's
it's a it's a conversation for a
Mhm.
future episode,
Yes.
hopefully. Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much, Ren. I can't stress that enough. Thank you so much for taking this time and sharing it with us, and just sharing this very beautiful story that you have. Just
Mm.
because it's really one of those stories that will, and I'm sure your daughter will grow up as a great human being, having two parents as heroes that she can look up to. for the work that you have done in this time of need for the entire province.
Thanks
And
so
it's just
much, man.
remarkable to have a friend who's a modern day hero. It's just insane.
Mm.
So thank you so much, Ren, for sharing this story with us. Thank you so much. And I hope you and your family stay safe, especially your daughter. Thank you so much for this time that you've shared with us. And that is the story of one of our modern day heroes, one of our frontliners, Ren. I really hope everyone enjoyed that story because it was indeed very special. We don't really know what the frontliners go through, but in this moment that we were able to share with Ren, we were able to at least see and just get a glimpse of what that life was like. So just before we wrap up the episode here, to end on a lighter note, I want to just go back to that song that Ren mentioned, one of his all-time favorites, Harana. That song was actually written by a man named Eric Yaptanco and was first performed by Tony Lambino, and then the Parokya ni Edgar made their own rendition. They made their own cover of the song. I encourage you to have a listen to the song Harana by Parokya ni Edgar on whichever music platform that you're using. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to give us a follow on Instagram at the Lifetimes Podcast and subscribe to the show on whichever podcasting platform that you're using, Spotify, Google Podcast, and soon we'll be on Apple Podcasts, so stay tuned for that. And I hope to see you in the next episodes, and bye for now.